Tom, welcome to Unfiltered Lives, the other side. First of all, I want to thank you for doing this interview. This is an interview where we're going to be speaking about addiction in families.
Yeah.
So first of all, I want to thank you for agreeing to do this interview, mate.
You're welcome. Yeah. Well, I'm from Stockton. I've lived here for a lot of years now. I'm 61 years old now. Been married since 1996. One son, one stepson. I work in hospital. I worked a lot of time in retail before that for 23 years. That's how I met you, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's about the way it is at the minute. Got my own house, mortgage, grandchildren, love my grandchildren. Yeah.
So you're just like a kind of normal person,
Yeah,
and
just
fitting into the world,
normal
getting on
person.
with your life.
Yeah, just do it. Every normal things. Save up to go on holiday each year. Don't really drink anymore. Be lucky if I go out twice a year. Go to work, come home, pay bills, look after grandkids. That's basic about it, really.
So as we spoke about, Tom, we know each other quite personally, didn't we?
We do, yeah.
We go back a long, long way.
Yeah.
You employed me in my first job in the Northeast.
Yeah.
And was I not one of the worst workers in the world?
I could only leave you on one aisle. Otherwise you get lost.
And you've put up with me for nearly 20 years, haven't you?
Yeah. But you are a good mate. You've been a good friend. You've been very reliable. I could tell you anything and know it wouldn't go no further. You've been there for me when I needed you, and hopefully I've been there when you needed me.
You have, Tom. You were there long before. You were a very good friend.
Yeah.
Tom, let's talk about addiction in families. Now, I know personally about your circumstances. Could you tell us when was the first thought?
Yeah, I mean, I know me and you used to go out years ago, and we did talk about addiction in your family and that. And I'd said then, never happened to my son. Now he would never go down that route. But I got a big shock. Well, at first he was 17, and it was like a bit of weed, bit of marijuana. We found out, which I didn't think was too bad. But I think the first signal was when he like rang us up on one of his mobiles, said, "Oh, I've lost all my wages," type of thing. He just started work, and I thought, strange. So I went to meet him, and I think at that age I could tell he hasn't just been on weed, or he'd been drinking as well. I think it was about 18 then, so about 9 years since, because he's coming up 27 now. And I would think from that stage there, he was knocking about with the wrong lads, but there were lads he went to school with. But it was a bad year at school. A lot of them were quite naughty and were drinking and taking drugs, and I never knew anything about any harder drugs for probably about a year or two after that. We just thought it was a bit of weed and that now and again, but we come down with a big shock when we found out. Like,
Tom, if you could just, what was your relationship like?
And my son,
your son.
Well, my son and we had a great relationship before these drugs took hold. Go watch him play football every weekend. He was into football. Go on holidays together with the family. So it was a good relationship. Probably happened since he left school. He got a job work for a couple of years with them, and I think that's probably what swayed it a bit, because we were meeting slightly older people then as well and going out. But it was a good relationship. Even after that, 18, 19, it was a good relationship. I think we got a couple of shocks when we took him on holiday, and it got really bad with drink when he was on holiday and kicking off type of thing. Got angry, because he'd never been angry. He was a lovely kid, you know what I mean? He was nice, pleasant to everyone, but obviously drink turns him, it changes him. And I think it was probably, we found out more when he was probably coming up to 20 maybe. Seems that long ago, do you know what I mean? And it's hard to remember all the incidents, but there's been a lot since. But like I say, I mean, even during it, we had a good relationship, but it gradually got worse as the drugs took hold. The relationship slipped away. Obviously, it was hard on me and his mum.
Did you first feel that addiction had been chapping at your door? What was your, if you can try and go back to that?
I think I was shocked. because I never ever thought, because he always looked after himself, hair, face, teeth, everything. And I just thought he would never be addicted to anything like that. And I think the first initial reaction was shock, because he was knocking about with another lad then, and his mum found out a couple of things, and we met up, and I think we were all shocked about it. And it kind of hit us like a ton of bricks when we found out first that he'd been taking harder drugs, namely cocaine. That's been his go-to drug since. So yeah, shock. Anger, definitely anger. Disappointment. Didn't want him around us, to be honest, but you had nowhere else to go. So it's your son, isn't it? So you do your best for them, look after them. But sometimes it was very strained. But I think it probably wasn't until late, probably started about 5 years ago, where it got worse. The addiction. I think at first he probably just dabbled on a weekend, maybe. But because it's expensive, he was getting in debt even then. So his wages were going to pay for it every week.
How has the addiction, not just affected you, but affected the home and family unit?
Well, it's affected everyone really, not just myself and my wife, but like his cousins, and my sister knows about it, but she doesn't say a lot ever. Because her mum's not well, so we wouldn't go down that route. But even he would have had a good job, he probably would have made an electrician out of it, maybe. And he's even tried to talk to her and take him to one side, kind of put his arm around him, And even that didn't help, because he lost that job through his drinking, mainly that was. He had a good job working away, earning good money. He used to go out on the night and drink, and even when he was working away, he wouldn't go to work.
So I'm talking about a 10-year cycle so far.
About 10 years cycle, yeah.
About 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. Well, yeah, it's 10 years. The bad years are probably 8 years, since he was about 20. Well, no, probably about 8 years bad. Maybe less than that, when he was 20, 21 maybe.
Could you describe how this has affected you, man, personally? How has this affected your health? First and foremost, your mental health.
I can go back to one incident which affected my health, because when I got took into hospital with a suspected heart attack, which was probably about 4 years ago, obviously when he didn't even turn up, because he was that off his face. He didn't turn up. She spoke to him, said, "Oh, your dad's in hospital with a suspected heart attack." I think it hit me then how bad he was. I knew he was bad, but not turning up at the hospital, knowing his dad had had a heart attack possible. And it's affected my mental health sometimes as well. Even though I don't show it like my wife might. She shows it like through, obviously, being very upset, very angry. But I get anger more than upset, because I just can't get upset over it, because I just think he's let us down, but he's more than that, he's let himself down. Plus he could have made something of himself, and I think it's just took over. But it's affected our relationship, obviously, which it would. We've had lots of arguments over it, and thinking, I don't want him there, and she doesn't want him there, but she does, because it's the son. She doesn't want to see him on the streets, but we just didn't know what to do. And there's not a lot of help out there for addiction, I don't think.
What sort of help have you encountered or not encountered?
Well, we actually sent him to rehab once for 2 weeks, but we couldn't get into it. It was private, so it was like £3,000 a week. He was only there 2 weeks. We were supposed to go for 4, because that's all we could afford. And he come back after 2 weeks, and that same night he went out with the same people and got back on it. And even down there, they said he had a separation syndrome thing. Would like be separate from people, and drink was his trigger. His alcohol was his trigger. They told him that down there, and I think that was just like a kick in the teeth. To think that we'd done that, tried to help him in that way, and he come back home just done the same thing. Yeah, and I think
I know that there's been a lot of psychosis that's been experienced in your house as well. Some really bad psychosis.
I've never seen anything like it. Some of the times when he's been totally off it, I mean, there's been violence there, obviously, with the psychosis, especially towards me. Very angry towards his mum, verbally aggressive towards his mum, which is awful to see. But he's been physically violent with me. I've had cracked ribs, I've had bruises all over my body. he's hit me over the head with things. He's smashed up the house. He broke every single door in the house, took them off the hinges, punched holes in the doors, the walls. Probably the worst psychosis probably lasted for about maybe 3 hours. We were stuck in the house with him because we couldn't get away because he was just threatening to do things and what have you. And it took me like 3 hours to get him calmed down enough to get out and get it on the phone to call the police.
Does the psychosis come with the paranoia?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
I know about the paranoia because I'm an addict, or I was.
Yeah, the paranoia. I mean, I've seen it really firsthand when he's been outside the house, thinking people are watching him.
Mm-hmm.
He's been sat in bushes, thinking people are watching him. He's been watching us. He's been watching other people. He's hid around cars to watch one of his ex-girlfriends to see where she was, and he thinks things are there and are not there. He'd go in the cupboard and say, "You've got people hiding in the cupboard," and he'd actually go in cupboards and look for people.
How do you look at that, seeing someone that paranoid and that schizoid at the brain? Because I've been that person.
Yeah, I mean,
how does that look to you from like a normal person seeing something like that? How does that, and then being the father looking at that, how does that look?
Big shock, and plus it's quite scary.
Yeah,
it was frightening the way he was and the way he was with me. I mean, I'm a big bloke, but he's the same size as me, but he scares you, and he scares his mum. And I think looking at him, he's not my son, because he'd start foaming at the mouth. And I've never seen anything like that before. And his eyes were just staring into you as if he was going to do something. You know what I mean? It was that scary. You thought, is he going to do something terrible to me, or to himself even? Because he'd pick up knives and think, I'm going to stab myself, type of thing. But he never did.
Yeah,
but he would. You know what I mean? You just thought he could do something like that and not know about it. That's a scary thing.
It's that psychosis, that paranoia, man, isn't it? Yeah. I've been there, I've experienced it.
But even on the come down after the days before, he's still paranoid. You can still see, even though he's probably been off it a couple of days, you can still see twitchy, he's paranoid. You can see him looking around. And even when he walked up the street, he's saying, who's in that car, type of thing. If people are following him.
Yeah.
I said, there's no one there. And that is quite scary. We've had him to a psychiatrist as well. We had to pay for that to try and get him a diagnosis. He diagnosed him with moderate depression, but then we haven't gone back to get the rest of it done because it's cost. So I think it all ties in together, the depression with the drugs, and the come down and he gets depressed and he has to go and get more.
Tell me, I know that you've paid some serious money out, man, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I know we don't want to put my number on it or whatever else, or we don't want to name them people.
No.
But you've mortgaged yourself to the hilt, haven't you?
Yeah, we've mortgaged ourselves. I mean, I'm going to say a figure because we're talking up to £50,000. And probably more over the years if you added it all up. I mean, there's still nearly £20,000 in loans to pay off now. That's how I paid it off in the first place. Paid off with loans and credit cards. I went into a debt management plan because of it, because of all the money, which I'll be paying off until I die. He does pay off some when he has it, but most of the time his money goes to the dealers, even to this day now.
People will say, like, the kind of normal people who watch this, who don't really get addiction, why don't you just kick him out? Why don't you just lump him out and have nothing to do with that?
That's what everyone said to me.
But
it's easier said than done.
Easier said than done when it's your kid,
because
isn't
people
it?
say to me, like even like my sister, and people said, why didn't you just kick him out and let him get on with it and hit rock bottom? You do that, but then you see him when he does nearly at rock bottom, you just think, can you do that to your son?
No.
I think now I probably could. But then it was so difficult. Why did I go and get a loan for £5,000, go around the corner and pay this dealer? Probably knowing that he's going to build up that debt again, or it's nowhere near what he owes. But you just did it. And even probably this year and last year we were still paying.
That unconditional love, isn't it?
It is unconditional love, but I've told him I'll always love him because of my son, but we don't like him at all because of what he is and what he does. He says he wants to change, but I don't know if he does. What
about your rock bottom in all this? Where is your rock bottom?
I know, that's it. Where is my rock bottom? I don't think I've got. I think I'll just keep going, and I always will. Got my work, got my grandkids. She keeps me going, and they all keep me going. But my rock bottom, I don't think I've hit it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't let myself. I think I've been suffered a lot with even depression itself and crying and going to doctors and talking to them. But I don't think she's hit quite rock bottom, but she's very close to it. Very close to, like, wishing she wasn't here. Even it gets you like that. She wishes she wasn't here. Or, on the other hand, he'll either kill himself or he'll be locked up. And sometimes she said, I wish you were dead, because at least you'd know he was safe.
Yeah.
The pain would be over for him and us. Which is an awful thing to say about your child, like, but yeah. I've heard it said before by a few people. Because we did get some help with company in Stockton as well. You know the company anyway.
Yeah.
Through a company called Bridges, they were really helpful and talking. And
family support.
Family support, yeah, they were there for family support, which did help. So there's some help out there, but I don't think there's enough help out there for the addicts. I mean, I think you've only got probably one, which is CGL.
Yeah.
But he's never followed the programme through yet. That's his problem. He's never followed the programme fully through.
We tried to get him to the fellowship.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know. But he's needed help for a lot of years, and you get it for him. You go to doctors with him, you take time off, take him there, but he just throw it back in your face the next weekend when he's back on it.
How's your mental health and all this, Tom?
I'll just keep it buried. I'm one of these people who doesn't show it. It does come out occasionally, where I get angry and I just can't cope and I just walk out type of thing, but I don't try not to. I don't want him to affect me like that, even though I can. I never cried over it, which I probably never will, because that's not me. But even though it's probably in there and I probably want to.
Yeah.
But I just don't let myself be like that. And I think that's something from when I was a kid, to be honest. So I don't let myself.
You just don't want a shot.
Yeah,
you just
basically,
don't want a shot, don't you? Because
No.
if you shot, that's it.
Yeah. So I don't want to show that side of me, even though it's very emotional. I think my granddaughter's brought out the emotional side of me a lot as well, because she's everything. You know what I mean? Little in that. So
talk about your grandkids.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
So out of all this addiction and all this chaos and all this debt for the last 10 years, how many grandkids have you got?
Well, we've got, first of all, there was a little boy. He's 5 now. We don't see him, unfortunately. We didn't see him when he was a baby. We've seen him twice, but then his mum decided not to let us see him anymore, so we didn't see him until he was probably about 4. Then we seen him for a couple of months, but then that stopped again. That was mainly because of Thomas as well, the way he was. The way he was in the relationship with her, and the way he was with his addiction. So she didn't want him to have anything to do with him, which I totally understand. But to deny us that, I thought it was wrong. But obviously that's another story. So we don't see him now, and I don't think there wasn't that bond from when he was a baby. But then he got on with someone else and he had another baby. And she's lovely. She's the apple of my eye.
Is she?
Yeah, she's going to be 2 soon, and obviously he's got another stepdaughter who's 5, and she's lovely. So we see him all the time. She lightens me up.
Does she?
Yeah, because she always with us every weekend, and she gives me that lift you need. And I think she does the same for the wife as well. She gives her that lift, something to keep her going. And obviously he does see his daughter, and he does see his stepdaughter, and they both dote on him.
That's nice.
We just wanted him to stop because of them, but it didn't stop him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you can say, is he going to stop? We don't know. You just see him now. Obviously, you would never see him under the influence of anything. We wouldn't allow that. So that's our light, the grandkids. We're just hoping that maybe one day he might change. But even if he doesn't, we've still got the kids.
Yeah. So out of all this chaos and carnage, you get these 2 beautiful grandkids.
Yeah.
That you know, when you've got all this man around you, but you can bond with these grandkids. Something beautiful has come out of something.
Come out of something, yeah. That's it. It's something beautiful to come out of it as well, which it has, and you just want him to see that, which he does. But then he doesn't, if you know what I mean. He sees how beautiful they are. love him to bits. I mean, his stepdaughter calls him daddy all the time, and even though she knows he's not his daddy, she wants him to be his daddy. And obviously they're not together anymore, but obviously still sees him and goes out with them and that. But I don't know what the future holds for him, to be honest.
What does the future hold for you, Tom?
Same as, hopefully the same, sticking with the grandkids, get my mortgage paid off, it'll be a big thing in 3 years' time. Taking them on holiday, the 2 grandkids, hopefully next year, maybe a couple of years after that, we'll go to Disney with them. That's our future now, to save for them, give them everything if we can.
Yeah.
And hopefully see the errors of his ways. But you don't know, do you?
No.
Life goes round in circles sometimes. He might just come in a full circle and be a changed man.
Yeah.
But I think it'll take a spell in jail to change him, to be honest.
Is that what you think?
I do think that, yeah, because in the beginning when he was assaulting me, I'll say this now, I didn't go through with charges. I withdrew my statement. I wouldn't get charges against him, but since then I have. I won't let him get away with it now. Yeah, the grandkids are our go-to now, our happy place. Yeah.
Tell us, what would you say to your son if he was to watch this? What would you say to him?
I would say to him, look how it's affected me and your mum. Look at the stress, the mental health, the debt, and also look at yourself in the mirror and think, I've got 2 beautiful kids there. What am I doing? You could, the way you've gone on, we're lucky we're still here, could have caused a heart attack or anything. The stress you put us through, it's still ongoing, and you know, we're not getting any younger. We're in our 60s now, so I would say stop, think about what you're doing, and think about us for a change. Stop being selfish, because I think addicts are very selfish.
And that was going to be my next my question. What would you say to people when they're the addicts?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
I'd say, I know they've got an addiction, and it is an addiction. Some can't help it, and I do agree with that. I think not all of them should be labelled this way. Some people label them, like, you know, you can stop straight away. You can't.
Yeah,
you can't. It's like smoking. They don't stop straight away because it's a drug. So addicts are different because it's an illegal drug. But some of them are very, very selfish. They don't think about anything but
all
themselves.
of them are selfish.
Well, they're all selfish. Yeah,
we're all selfish. That's why we're addicts. That's why we're
you don't think about anyone but yourself. You're not thinking about your families. You're not thinking about your kids. You're not thinking about anything but yourself and getting your drug or drink. Whether it's alcohol or drugs, it's both the same to me. So
this has been really good to get a perspective of a father, a family who's had addiction chapping at the door for nearly 10 years. I know, Tom, that you've never touched a drug.
No.
Do you know what I mean? You may have a couple of drinks every now and again, but you've never touched. You must sort of get a perspective of just a normal person in society who isn't in recovery, who's not in the recovery circles or anything like that. You're just, what we say, just a normal chap, a normal bloke, a normal father trying to love his son who has been affected by this.
Oh, really affected him. I think one of the main things that affected us is the fear from what's going to happen to the house, because we had our windows smashed by drug dealers. We had threats from drug dealers, burn your house down, drive a car through your window. I think that's affected really badly, especially when I've ran out when people have done it, and I don't know what I'm going to do. We've got 4 balaclava lads there. What am I going to do? But your adrenaline takes over. And I say that, so what could have happened to me there? We know what they do. They carry machetes, they carry knives. What would happen if I got stabbed off somebody who'd been getting drugs off and hadn't paid? You know what I mean? How would that make him? That's what I'd say to him. How would that make you feel if one of them had stabbed me because of what you've done?
Doesn't even think of it, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, but you do, because you hear about it. I mean, people get stabbed all the time now.
Let's talk about services. You talked about there's a service in Stockton Bridges, isn't there?
Yeah.
And they're a family support. I know Bridges very well.
Yeah. They were very well. I mean, woman who we've seen in there, we've probably known her a lot longer than Bridges, because obviously one of the daughters was friends with our son, and she knew us from that, and she's been very supportive, ringing us up, trying to point us in the right direction to get help for him. But you could just go down there and just talk, you know, get it out and what's going on, what you could do, and get good advice about what you could do as well. And I think they've been a great help. She was at the end of her phone if you need to speak to her.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, there's always somebody there if you need to speak. Because it's been hard for me to speak to anyone about it. I mean, I spoke to you, and a couple of other close friends, but that's about it, really. I've not really told many other people. Even though most people probably know because they know him. You just don't speak about it, really.
Tom, thank you for this absolutely raw interview.
You're welcome.
Mate, I know that you've had a rough 10 years, and this is just touching the surface of this.
It is,
This isn't even touching the surface
Probably
of this.
Not, no.
Did you know this isn't even skimming the waves of what's happened in your life? I know that you've been nervous even do this, to even talk about it and then talk about it on the camera. It's absolute encouragement. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this, and hopefully we can have you back on in the future and life's a little bit changed.
Well, hopefully,
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
He's a hug, man.
Yep.